Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Jumaat. Uh, okay, today I am going to share with you about one fundamental thing for all new doctors who started work in the government hospital. They will begin their work as a house officer, and many of them what do you call that? Curious about what are they supposed to do in the ward. How are they going to learn during housemanship? Okay, I'm going to give you tips how to do good rounds, and not necessarily in the surgical base department, to all the postings in the hospitals. So every houseman have to undergo tagging, have to do rotational postings. So how you prepare yourselves? So these are a few tips. When you come to the hospital and being given certain patients to be under your care, you must first, if the case is the first case you're seeing, so you must clock the patients yourselves. Don't rely to others, even though the case has been clocked by other people. So you as a doctor, you must know your patients from the beginning. So clock yourselves properly, the way you learn from medical schools. You clock properly and follow the sequence: patients, identification, chief complaint, history of presenting illness, past history, past surgical history, medical history, medication history. You follow like that. Don't do shortcut. Don't start to present with telling the patient is known case of this, patient is known case of HIV, patient is known case of diabetes. No, you can tell that later. There are periods where you will mention that, but tell us why the patient come to the hospitals, because that is what you want to deal with. And then examine yourself like what you learn from medical school, started from general examinations and specific examinations, okay, and then blah 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 until you make a provisional diagnosis, do relevant investigations, and make a diagnosis. That's it. Okay, that is what you are supposed to do. Very basic things. Okay, be honest, be responsible, and that is what you are supposed to do. Okay, then after you already clock the cases on daily basis, what are expected for the houseman, what are expected for you as a houseman on the eyes, from the eyes of surgeon or medical officer. So you are as a part of the team, so you must be able to contribute something. So whenever you do rounds, the patient most of the time already have a diagnosis, unless it is new case, doesn't matter. Already have the diagnosis, already being given plan to be carried out. Okay, so when you do rounds, this is a checklist. You either, if you seeing the patient for the first time, you reclock, and then if patient already have the diagnosis, for example appendix or hernia, some of the patient not yet being put up for surgery, some of the patient already underwent surgery, so they will be pre-operative and post-operative patient. So when you do round, you must identify the problem. This is the key in doing round. So you must identify the problems. What is meant by problems? How you get this problem? You know the problem by asking yourself. There are series of questions to be asked on your patient. So when you do round, look at the patient, as a whole. So you ask question on yourselves. because, and this question must be answered. Okay, you look at the patient. For example, this patient had underwent surgery last night for appendectomy. So you look at the patients. Look at patient whether general condition, patient is well or not, smiling to you or not. Okay, look at the patient from top to the bottom. So you ask questions and look for the signs of improvement. So question you have to ask is, first, why the patient is still in the hospital? Okay, there must be a problem. If you have no question to ask, this patient should be at home. This patient is fit to be discharged. So when you do round, you look at the patient. First you look from eyes, where the patient well, not technique, so there is no problem on that. So you look down on the chest, no problem. You look at the branula. Why this patient is still require branula? He cannot eat. He is on antibiotic, so you ask that question. So you look at the patient, possibly one patient is already taken orally, no problem. There is no antibiotic to be given. For example, the simple appendix. So this branula is a problem. So this branula is actually due to be removed. Okay, and then you ask about the other problem. For example, in case patient have CBD, continuous bladder drainage tubes. Okay, you ask the problem, why this patient is on CBD? He cannot pass urine, or you need to monitor the urine. Why can't you monitor by using urine? Because CBD is not comfort to the patient. Okay, so you ask questions. No need to monitor urine output, and patient can walk, patient can pass urine. So you don't have to monitor the urine output frequently, like hourly. So that means that CBD is not required to be there, and you need to remove. Some of the patients you can see being put on oxygen. So you ask yourself, why this patient is on oxygen? Maybe, and look at the patient respiratory rate. You ask the patient whether the patient take kidney or not, and look at the saturations. Look at the ABG, comfortable or not. Look at the cost. Look at the past notes. Why this patient being put on oxygen? Some of the patient had pulmonary disease. Some of the patient, for example, fracture ribs or what, they need oxygen because of poor respiratory effort. Some of them have poor ABG. So you look at that. If everything is being sorted out, ABG good, even under 3 liter, patient is not taking respiratory rate well within normal range, or if patient have pneumothorax is already resolved, it's a time to remove. So that oxygen is a problem. It's a problem that you need to tackle. So if not, you can suggest to opt the oxygen. Okay, some of the patient on chest tube for pneumothorax, for fracture ribs, for play segment. So you have to ask the patients, how long already the chest tube, whether the chest tube bottle still bubbling, still fluctuating, whether the X-ray taken showing improvement or worsening. So if the patient already on a few days of chest tube and the chest tube is not fluctuating anymore, the leaky chest is very good, so maybe it's a time to remove. Okay, and then you need to ask also the pain status of the patient. What is the pain score? Nowadays you need to deal with this, isn't it? So if patient is well controlled, or if the pain is well controlled on analgesics, you need to cut down the number of analgesic given. You need to minimize the number of analgesics when patient is well tolerated. So that's are the few questions. Okay, you deal with patient with midline laparotomy, scar of the abdomen. Patient had underwent surgery for bowel, for example. So you look at the patient on post-operative, what actually the post-operative order by the surgeons, and then patient already taken orally or not, passing platters or not. Eh? These are a few cases, few questions that you have to ask. That means identify the problem. If all the problems answered, okay, and everything looks well, so these are the patients that are fit, maybe for discharge. Okay, some of the patients, you identify new problems. Suddenly patient develop fever, or the pain increasing, patient vomits. So these are new problems that you need to address, and this will help the team to rectify the problems. Post-operative, for example, patient develop fever, you have to know the causes of post-operative fever on day 1, day 3, day 5, etc. Patient pain is not improving. Patient develop vomiting. So you have to look into the electrolytes, look into the patient, look and examine the patient, the pulse, the abdomen, whether the patient have ileus or patient have mechanical obstruction, or patient have rebleed, for example, after the operations of underrunning bleeding ulcer, for example, and patient wasted still blood and patient still tachycardic. So you need to look into the evidence of continuous bleeding. Alright, evidence of continuous bleeding. So you have to identify this. How to look into these conditions. So there are many ways. So you need to see more and more cases. Okay, another thing is you also need to know which patient is showing improvement and which patient is not. Okay, so for most of the patient underwent operation, if they are doing well, they must show some improvement. One of it is when you come and see the patient will be comfortable, some of them smile, and then they will started having appetite, desire to eat. These are good signs. Desire to eat, that is a good sign. And then you examine the patient as a whole. There is no signs of sepsis, not tachycardia, no temperature. So these are the patient that showing signs of improvement. There are also patients showing worsening signs or late in showing some improvement. For example, gastrointestinal surgery, colorectal surgery, where you did resection or what. You look at it, some of them are very slow, still not ambulate, no appetite, the pulse still 100, and then no bowel sounds. So these are patients that are progressing slow, or they might have some post-operative problems, ileus, infection, and all those things. So you must look into this. Okay. So this is how you do round. How we do round. Apart from the job of the house officers atau new doctors, whatever being asked on previous day, the task be given to you, you must be aware of this and must proactive and getting all these results ready, because your input is essential in helping the teams to make a decision. Okay, because you are part of the team. So tracing investigation, updating the notes, getting all the appointment for radiological tests. So if this thing being done according to time, being updated regularly, and you know all the update history of the patient, it will help in the round and helps the team making decisions. So that is essential. Okay, and last but not least, being a doctor is your ambitions and is your choice. For some of them, some of you is parent choice. So being a doctor as a doctor, you must love your jobs. So when you love your job, you must also love to take history. Make the history is something that interests you. When you have interest in taking history, that makes the whole process beautiful. That makes the history beautiful, examination interesting, and then getting the diagnosis is something that interests you. So love your job, because being a doctor is a noble profession, and we are trained to work in stress. So doctors are trained to work in stress because we have to make decision fast. We have to resuscitate fast. Fast doesn't mean fast and efficient. So you must be able to manage the case in short duration, plenty of patients. So you must get used to a situation like this. So I hope that 15 minutes tips of how to do rounds will actually help you in future and make you a better doctor. Remember, doktor ni jadi doktor ni bagus tau, help people. So love your job, be a good doctor, be a good houseman. I hope and I pray for you to do well in every question. Thank you very much.